Welcome to the video on how to build a deck railing. The most important part of any construction project is the design and plan. These are plans that I made for this series of how-to videos. Your plan starts with a drawing which allows you to do a material takeoff and make a list to take to the store. Here we are at your friendly home improvement store. First thing you notice is that the post lumber is really dark. The 2x lumber is kind of yellow. It's not the same dark green that the 4x4 and 6x6 lumber is. Let's go look at that. This 4x4 lumber is real dark. Look at how dark this stuff is. As it turns out, the pre-cuts are actually cheaper, so we're gonna go ahead and get 8 of these pre-cuts. You still gotta look through them and make sure you got a good one. You can see in that bundle right there that some of them are messed up right from the beginning, so sort through them. Okay, so we got the lumber out of the truck and we're ready to start building some railings. I like to build the railing inside on a jig because it's a lot easier than bending over the already installed, edge of the deck. So if you don't have a jig, it's pretty simple to make. You can see it's just a 2x block up there with a piece of plywood attached to it and some 2x blocks down here. And we set the height of the jig. That distance right there will determine how tall the railing is. And this right now is set at 31 inches. That gives you 3.5 inch clearance off the deck, plus the 31 inch section height, plus the top 2x, one of these guys right here, this 2x down here, for 36 inch section height, which is about standard for most code. Code varies from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, so you have to make sure that you follow code in your jurisdiction. This is a mountain laurel handrail to give you an idea of the height. This is installed on a little landing with a transition, but you can see the clearance down here. That's the 3.5 inch toe kick clearance, and that contributes to your overall height. And that little clearance space there, it's just important because it lets the leaves go through during the fall time so that you can blow your deck off. And the 36 inch height is of course so that you don't fall over the edge. What we're going to do is we're going to measure our post here so that we can subtract it from our overall length that we're going to use to build our little deck model on. This one's 3 5/8 inches. And this one's also 3 5/8 inches. So now we're going to measure our platform here. And our platform is 47 3/8 inches. Figure out what our measurement should be. And we had 47 3/8 minus 3 5/8 twice, which is 7 1/4. So 7 1/4 less than 47 5/8 is 40 3/8. So I'm going to mark 40 3/8, and then I'm going to remember that number. So we're going to mark that twice on this board, 40 3/8, and then we're going to cut it. Then we're going to put it on our jig. So we're going to check our board now that it's on the jig and see if it's straight. And this one runs off a little like that. You can see if you look right down here. Yeah, there you go. And look along it, you see that it's not quite straight. So we'll flip it over like this. And now look at it. Yeah, it's a little bit better. That board's just crooked that way. And I'm going to screw it into place. And I'll come around to the other side and screw it in here. This one's going to get another screw down in the end because you can see it's got a gap. And in order to make sure that the top and bottom are parallel, they have to be pulled straight on the jig. Now we've got our pickets, which we're going to cut to 31 inches in length. Like I said at the store, these pre-cuts were cheaper than the 2x2s, but we still got to cut them up. Instead of pulling each label off with the pliers cutters there, I'm going to make them so that I cut the labels off and save myself one step. I'm going to flip them all so I can get a nice pull with my tape measure and mark them at 31 inches. Now let's cut them up. I think we'll cut them 3 at a time, 2 at a time, be easier. Okay, so like I mentioned in the store, the first thing that I would say if I were a homeowner is that I wasn't very happy with the way that the wood looks. I don't know if the camera can show it, but this stuff is real green looking, and it has all these green marks on it. This is from all the chemical that they put in this wood to treat it. You can see right here there's more of it. It's all over this stuff. But you look at these now, we'll put a couple of them together so you can see the pattern of it. You can see that there's not really much green at all in them. They're more yellow or khaki looking, tan looking, as opposed to this green. So we looked at those 4x4s, and they were that same, they were a darker green. So just to start with, now we're going to have 3 different We had to find some fasteners here, and luckily I pulled some 2-inch screws. These are high performance exterior screws, which means that they're made to go through this wood. I got 2 colors here, actually. You can see they got a tan one and a dark colored one, because the screw manufacturers recognize that the pressure treated lumber comes in different colors. For this project, it doesn't matter what color screws we use, because we're going to hide all of our screws as best as we can. Alright, so the next thing that we're going to do is lay out our piece. And I see a lot of different ways to do this, but this is what I consider to be the best and easiest way to do it. So we're going to start by finding the center. So half of 40 3/8 is 20 3/16. And so I'm going to put a mark there on the center. Then I'm going to come over here and put my tape measure so that my tape measure is on 1 3/4. I'm going to come over here and push the blade in and mark on this side. And then I'm going to mark 3 1/2 right here. Oops, get a good mark, that wood's slippery. These marks, which is the spacing that we're going to have in between each of our pickets. So I'm going to put an X right here and an X right here, and that's where my pickets are going to go. Then I'm going to take a piece of scrap 2x4. I'm going to cut it 4 1/2 inches. Cut it a little bit shy for your pencil mark. Okay, then we're going to put it right here, and we'll use this as a pattern block. So now we're going to do the same thing at the top. Going to mark 20 3/16. Put it on 1 3/4. Push the blade in, mark 3 1/2. Use our spacer block. Make sure you hold your block square so that when you do your marks, they're square. Come over here, start this way, going this way. Make sure that you put your X's correctly. This way you're going to have an open space in the center. So we're going to screw some of our pickets on here, so we're going to put these in place. All right. Unscrew it up here. And there you go. All right. So now what we're going to do, we're going to take this thing out there and we're going to install this deck railing. This is the simplest kind of deck railing that you can make. It's going to have this part facing the inside right here. Going to have this part facing the outside. These screws are good and sturdy. Okay, once it gets all screwed together with the top plate on, be nice and strong. Some people want to put 2 screws top and bottom. You can go ahead and do that. We didn't do that just to save time on this demonstration, but it'd probably make the whole assembly a lot simpler. Because we live in a litigious society, here is a disclaimer that I am not responsible for your actions. Let's get started.